National Night Out event to go to, so they're not here, but,
Let's get started.
well, we get started, and we're gonna start with public safety. If you guys are okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think in the past, I think you're the last individual who's probably Mayor Pro Tem.
We're in a workshop, it's not that formal, it's just.
Okay, well, all of our workshops are formal.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'll go. You don't need to go. You're in the hot seat.
All right, I'm gonna go. So, good evening. Before you, a couple of documents there. You get the typical map that's plotted out with where the calls of all or took place in July. So, pretty busy July for us.
So we've had some issues about volume, thanks.
You okay there? That better? Sorry. Seems like it's on. Maybe it's just not on. So, about 100, close to 115 emergency calls in the Liberty Lake area during the month of July. You'll see the breakout looks pretty normal, almost probably 80% plus EMS calls, but there were a few of note, and that is we're seeing, and this time of the year it's not unusual to see these small brush fires starting to take place, particularly as people transition, shall we say, into the burn restrictions. So we, on that, the fire marshals, the cities, we enacted the burn restrictions late July. It was probably about a little less than 2 weeks ago. And so for the next, typically for the month following that, we have to kind of educate people, hey, the ban's in effect, and change the behavior a little bit. So because of that, at the end of July, we saw a bunch of little fires starting from some illegal type burning. Only one of those got to any size, and that really was over in the backside there, up towards Green Ridge off Chase. That was really not an illegal burn. It was fireworks related, some youths, some young adults were exercising their excess fireworks, I think, from the 4th of July. So we're following up with some interventions there to help that. But that actually ended up being a couple, 3 acres by the time it was all said and done. We sat on it until about 5 a.m. the next morning. That occurred midday on the 8th. Put up a lot of smoke, but really not a lot of timber. There wasn't a ton of damage. It was just really no timber damage or anything like that back in there. Ground fire, but had the potential to be a significant fire, for sure, in that area especially. So that was the largest of those brush fires. There's interesting small one started by a riding lawnmower. I don't know if you guys hear about that, Brian. It caught on fire twice within a couple hours. We put it out the first time, and a little grass fire that had started, but rekindled the riding mower, and we put it out a second time. It's probably out of commission now. So you had those. Marine rescue in the lake as a boat went down, and no injuries with that. And a couple of events I bring your attention to. One is our upcoming open house in September, so keep that in mind if you have grandkids or kids or just yourself want to go check out things at the fire departments at our training center 10 to 2. There's free lunch, a lot of stuff going on, a lot of demos, helicopters landing, pretty cool stuff if you're interested in any of that. We had over 1,000 folks through that event last year, so it's well attended. And then we just had an update on Shrek. Were you going to cover that, Brian?
No way.
So I want to thank Katie and others that attended the event at Spokane Regional Emergency Communications. Was the 12th, I believe, or around that date. Where we of course we went live on the 1st, but the first opportunity we kind of had to give a press conference and invite the media in was around 2 weeks later. Thank Katie for going. It was important to do that. The center's up and running, it's functioning well. So it'll only get better as we move forward in the future years, so all's good there. That's all.
Was there a fire that caused by lightning strike? Or is that just a rumor I heard?
In Liberty Lake?
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of at Liberty Lake. We had, we did that event, we had a lot of activity there for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. We had 2 structure fires caused by, but they were both in the valley.
Okay.
One of them might have been close to Liberty Lake. I can't remember that second location, but we did have 2 structural fires due to the lightning and then a number of other events going on.
Thanks.
Chief, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So I know last night there was some haze over in the north sky. I'm assuming that's from Colville or somewhere.
Yeah.
So my question is, so as these wildfires, this is the time of year when air quality gets compromised sometimes. What do you recommend for a website that we should use to notify people about the air quality? I mean, we all have our apps and
Yeah.
blah, 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 but I was wondering if there's a more official sanctioned air quality website?
Yeah, Spokane Clean Air.
Spokane.
Yeah, and their website, it's right there on their homepage. It opens up this time of the year. You'll see air quality right there in front of you. It's a nice, easy graph to read. It tells you what the current conditions are, kind of green, red, yellow. It's all very easy to use. That's what we use. Yeah.
So air quality today was good? Last night it wasn't, it was not good?
Moderate today.
Yeah, it got better as the day went on. In the early morning hours, it was still pretty bad. It was, you know, it was unhealthy for at-risk population, and it got a little bit better during the day.
Okay.
But that fire up there is really only about a quarter contained,
Okay.
about 13,000 acres, so it's likely to burn the rest of the week and then for a couple weeks before it's fully out.
And
So
that's
we're getting
kind of
that
the
smoke.
only, that's the only fire that's live that's going on right now that would.
No, there's 3 or 4 total,
Is
but
there?
most of them are north of us.
Okay.
That's the largest, and I think that's where you're seeing most of the smoke from. The others are fairly small in size.
Thank you.
There was one at Sandpoint last night they got a pretty good handle on before it got too large.
Chief, I feel like
Yes.
on the same lines, I feel like I ask you this every year, but where's the best source for us to send people to get better information on what is legal to burn and what is illegal to burn this time of year?
For like an outdoor fire?
Exactly.
Yeah, so Kate, you have some brochures this year, Kate?
We do, and it's, their website's really good.
Yeah, so
Basically,
on our
their
website,
website's the
yeah,
best place to send it.
yeah, we have a pretty good pictorial presentation of kind
Do's
of
and don'ts.
what's a go, and a big circle with an X through which you shouldn't be using, and an explanation of the difference between a chimnea and you know, this and that. So we also have handouts if those are helpful too, but it's on the website.
Great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
SpokaneValley.com, SpokaneValleyFire.com, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I have a little bit of a longer report than normal, some things to cover. But we have, before you, is our July crime stats. A busy month for us as well, 607 calls for service, which is about 100 more than normal that we experience. And then you'll see that there's kind of our highlights there are some burglaries and a fraud case. So I just want to take this opportunity, instead of going into detail about those, is really to talk about, again, for the whole community, about crime prevention efforts. So all of these cases that we've had a lot of them this summer with property crime cases, all of them are crimes of opportunity. So it's unlocked cars with valuable stuff in them, it's open garages that are left open overnight that people forget to close, or they think their significant other closed it and blaming each other. But what's happening is that people are coming into our community and going into these open garages and stealing a lot of stuff, including credit cards that are in cars that are in unlocked cars in the open garages, and then illegally using them at local stores before they can be reported as stolen. So just to help us out is make sure you keep your things locked up, don't keep anything valuable in your car, and double check your garage doors at night to make sure that they are in fact closed before you go to bed. This morning, even though this is a July report, I want to share an incident we had this morning. So about just before 9 o'clock this morning, we had great cooperation from a homeowner. Unfortunately, her home was, when she was in it, burglarized. They left their garage door open about that far, their feet and that kind of thing. A person crawled in under that and startled the homeowner. The person fled. Homeowner was able to get us, took pictures as the person was fleeing. Did the right thing, called 911 right away, provided a great description, direction of travel, had pictures on her cell phone. That went out to 911, and within a few minutes, one of our officers spotted that vehicle on Walter Road, turned into a high-speed chase down Appleway into the state line area. A person abandoned their vehicle, took off on foot, and then our officer was a little bit faster and caught him and took him into custody. We seized the vehicle and did a search warrant on the vehicle, and it was full of stolen property. And not from the person who caught them in the garage, but from other prowls that happened earlier in the morning that we're still trying to locate all the victims. So anyway, good work. Appreciate the cooperation from the homeowner, providing all that good information that allowed us to find them in a timely manner, make an arrest. But again, it was an open garage that was taken advantage of in that case. Other than that, other than the crime stats, also in there is the animal control report. If you'd like to review that and see what animal control's been up to in our community. Besides the crime things happening, just some other administrative issues is that we're trying to hire people, as you know. We held 2 interviews of lateral officers on Friday. A conditional offer was made to one of them, and they're going through their background process right now. We have 2 other interviews scheduled for August. Well, we had 2 other interviews scheduled for August 22nd. One of those applicants withdrew their application, unfortunately. So we have one more interview to do on the 22nd, with our goal of hiring 3 by the end of the year. Gordy Bentler, who you've met, he's out of FTO, field training, out on his own on graveyard shift, having a great time. Mayor Pro Tem Brigner talked a few weeks ago about the stop bar, wanting a stop bar located in a residential area where cars are observed routinely running a stop sign at Hole and Meyer. And so Katie and I have done some research on that, and what we've really found is we researched what's the manual that you go to for those things, which is the manual on uniform traffic control devices. And we learned some things from that, but I think more importantly what we found out is that stop sign is obstructed by a large tree. So you don't actually even see the stop sign until it's almost too late. The sign was actually lowered, the stop sign was actually lowered by a resident in an event to try to be able to have a better visibility, so that it was below the vegetation, but I think we need to take action to fix the tree and not the sign. Anyway, suggestion was made to put a stop bar at that location because of the number of vehicles that were not stopping at that stop sign. Currently, the city does not have a practice, or do we have stop bar, right, the painted white lines that we're talking about, in any residential areas in Liberty Lake. The manual on uniform traffic control devices does state that they are allowed, so it's not prohibited. Katie and I are going to do a little bit more research with other cities are doing in residential neighborhoods, reference those stop bars. But one of the things that I did learn is the purpose of having a stop bar. And that really has to do with managing crosswalks. And there's not a painted crosswalk at that location, but really what a stop bar is designed to do is to prevent cars from encroaching upon that crosswalk. So you know that that's the delineator where you're supposed to stop, so you don't enter into the crosswalk to create visibility issues between pedestrians and vehicles. So we don't have that situation at that particular intersection, but does not necessarily mean that that's a requirement to have a stop bar. But currently that's not our practice. We don't have a policy established about using stop bars in residential areas. So we're going to continue to research and see kind of what other cities are doing. I spent about half an hour there at that intersection today between 3:15 and 3:45 to monitor the traffic. 11 cars drove by that intersection at that period of time, and 8 of them behaved themselves, and 3 of them slowly rolled that stop sign. So anyways, that's kind of the little informal survey I did out there.
And Brian, I was just going to add something
Yes,
too.
go ahead.
Whenever we do have a tree that is impacting the driver's ability to see the stop sign. It's not a, we're gonna prune the tree, our crews are gonna go out and prune the tree, we'll make arrangements. We're not gonna let it be a code enforcement issue because of the safety issues, so we'll prune that tree, but Lisa may touch on some other tree pruning efforts that we're gonna be making over the river district. So I don't wanna derail what you were saying, but I don't want you to think we're just leaving the obscured stop sign obscured.
Where's that intersection?
Hole and Myers,
It's a T intersection
it's right by Half Moon Park,
Oh, I know.
on the
Okay,
south
know exactly.
side of the, north side of that.
north side of the park.
While moving the stop sign back to the proper height,
Yes,
is that already done?
we're gonna do that as well.
Some of the community outreach things we did in July was we just finished up our police athletic league, which we worked with the City of the Valley Police Department, River Lake Police Department, in cooperation with the Hub, where we had about 25 kids from the local area just playing games, STEM activities, sports with law enforcement officers. So it was 4 Thursdays in July, and big success. We hope to grow that to additional kids next year. We were also involved in that touch truck event, which was, we were just nonstop in and out of the police cars. I did get smart because it was hot that day, so instead of standing outside, I got in the passenger seat, pretended to be the patrol partner of whoever wanted to sit in the driver's seat, and we did a little mock thing, but anyway, that was all because it was hot. We were involved, barefoot in the park. We had a Liberty Police Department booth there, and shared that booth with Buchanan Valley Fire. We had I don't know if anybody else did, but the officers and the fires had a great time together. And then a little bit later this month, on August 13th, we're trying something we're putting out on our Facebook page. We're doing our first scavenger hunt. We're calling it Clues Behind the Blues. August 13th, starts at 8 o'clock in the morning. It'll be posted on our Facebook page, and basically it's a scavenger hunt throughout the city, so they're going to be given some clues, and it's going to take them to the library, to City Hall, to Trailhead, and back to the police department. First people to complete the puzzle that day will receive the prize from the police department. So kind of a fun thing that we're doing. And then tonight is National Night Out, which is, the theme is Give Crime a Going Away Party. We did a little bit of that this morning, with arresting that guy. So there's 3 events in Liberty Lake occurring. One's at Tritina, one's at Broadwing Apartments, and the other's at Garden Ridge. So we have officers that are, as well as the fire department and the mayor, are out visiting those places. And then, before I get to any questions you might have, I have really good news, and that is you've been asking for a long time about our cameras in the parks that have been purchased. So after some tweaking and meeting with the vendors to fine tune this a little bit, I'm happy to, if it works, the technology here, show you kind of what that looks like. So we have these at all the parks. There's a camera on order for Orchard Park. It's not. So that's the night vision.
It's working quite well, I see.
And maybe animal.
Not contributing.
No, you're right. It's Okay, it does not. We're on that server. Okay, maybe not. I guess you're going to have to take my word for it. It's really cool. So the picture quality, and maybe after council meeting, or if there's enough break, then you can look at the computer. But the picture quality is excellent. It's 1080p resolution. The zoom, pan-tilt zoom capabilities is really, really good. It goes out to, you can zoom in up to 400 yards away from the camera. I've preset these cameras to strategic locations in all the parks, and then also have a preset patrol function so that we can go to different locations throughout the park at the touch of a button, instead of having to stand there and, zoom in or pan the camera. They're preset, so I just hit a preset button and it'll automatically go to that location. So anyways, very, very happy with the cameras, really good quality. I'm sorry you can't see them, but hey, I'll turn it over to questions and you can take a look at this at a later time. Sure.
Chief, can you remind me how long we keep the videos off those cameras?
So all the video is kept on site, so it doesn't get sent to a separate server. That's actually the pod, they're called the camera pods, has its own built-in retention. And do you remember, I know it's several weeks that it's on it before it gets over.
Thanks.
Cool.
See that?
Dan?
No, you finish it. So I think I want to thank you guys for work as video podcast stars related to the 911 board. I think I saw it online.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Any observations or insight from your work in unified communication?
I mean, I think
Okay.
The employees like to work in the dark. So when we got into all of the work areas, because they're sitting there they have maps and technology everywhere, but I go, why don't you guys turn the lights on? And they like to work in the dark.
I mean, it really was for the public-facing side of it, customer service side, there was really no recognition and change from one day to when we going live, which was one of our goals. Now we just want to improve those efficiencies, improve response times, and we eventually will meet all those goals. But it was a seamless transition. Right now, the focus has been on hiring. They are short-staffed in several of the areas of the new organization. A lot of it had to do with job titles and some pay disparities and things like that we've worked on. And so we're right now really heavily recruiting to try to fill those communication officer positions.
Ryan, I got a question. The gentleman that abandoned his vehicle in Ryan, was that a stolen vehicle or by chance was that his?
No, that was his.
Pardon?
That was his vehicle.
Tell me.
Obviously most thieves don't think things out.
Well,
You can abandon the vehicle and run. It's like, I wasn't there. Yeah,
all right.
okay, thanks.
Okay.
Okay, we've got the library.
Fingers crossed again.
I broke the whole city hall system.
Yeah.
Sorry. All right.
All right, so I have a few things to talk about, as usual. So still checking out a lot of books this month, over 10,000, which is about the same as last month, actually just a few more. And we had about almost 1,800 ebooks and audiobooks checked out, which was more. And we had over 6,000 people come in and visit us this month in the library, so we've been pretty busy still. It's been really fun. And you can see with our events that we had, we do a lot of events over the summer. We've had over 1,500 people attend summer reading events. We have outreach story time where a preschool comes over every Tuesday morning, so we had about 150 kids from that. And then we had some teen and adult events as well, and those are being well attended too. So interestingly enough, we had a Harry Potter event where kids got to make wands and things like that. And Harry Potter's more than 10 years old, and we still had 60 plus kids come and adults come to create their wands because Harry Potter is just popular. And we had over 275 at Cecil the Magician, which we had in Pavilion Park. And then, of course, everybody has talked a lot about Touch a Truck, and we had over 800 people come to Touch a Truck. So that was really impressive, I think. And then this summer, in July, we started going to Talon Hills Apartments, where they were doing a summer lunch program for kids. And so one of my staff is taking over a craft to do at the same time for those kids. and it's going really well. So we're going to continue doing something similar, doing a sort of evening craft event there once or twice a month throughout the school year because it's going really well with them. So that's really good. And then just some pictures of Touch a Truck because I really wanted to highlight this. Jen's crew just did a wonderful job, and Jandy getting all the places in, and then of course fire and police for being there and everything. The kids just had such a great time, and I'll admit I enjoyed getting in some of the big stuff too because I've never really climbed in some of these things either. Yes, those wheels are big. And funnily enough, my brother-in-law works for, I think, Vera Water and Power, and I was telling him about this, and he's like, why didn't you tell me? We can bring something. So I have somebody on the line to bring another truck next year. But so this was a really great event.
The basketball thing was very popular.
Yes,
That was very popular.
yes, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Needs assessment project, I'd give you an update. We are done with the data gathering phase, completed that in July. We're moving on to preparing for community engagement. All the community engagement sessions will be held during the week of September 23rd. We'll also open up a survey that we'll have out at that time in case people want to give us their feedback and they can't attend any of the sessions, or if they're those people who like to attend and listen and think and then give their feedback, we have a way to capture that. We're going to meet with various stakeholder groups throughout the week and hold 2 general focus groups. During these sessions, we're going to seek feedback about the Liberty Lake community, community needs, where we think we're doing really well, maybe where we think we could use a little bit more work, library services, and then the library facility. And if you can think of anybody that I should be inviting to attend any of these sessions, feel free to send me names and emails and things like that. I'm planning to send out letters or texts or whatever the best communication model is to get a hold of people. Personal invitations to invite them to attend and share this information with us. And I'm looking for both people who use the library and people who don't use the library, because it's good to get everybody's view of the community and then everybody's view of library services and of the building. And then I would like to have a session with council and with the mayor. So I have 2 possible days during that week that I think might work. So I'd love to get some feedback so that I can sort of schedule it on the calendar. I'm looking at either Tuesday, September 24th or Wednesday, September 25th at either 6 or 7 p.m. So if you have any indication of which day might work best, please let me know, and then I'll get on the calendar and send out a more official invite to you later.
Both those days look great.
Either one's fine.
24th, when I might go.
Okay.
The 24th, the regular council meeting.
I don't think so.
Neither one is.
Okay.
Okay.
I think it's the 17th.
All right. And timing wise, 6 o'clock work okay? 7 o'clock better?
Either one.
Either one? Okay. All right. Thank you for that.
Jocelyn, I have a question.
Yes.
When you asked about anybody else should be invited, what about some of the administrators or employees of the other libraries around us? Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls, things like over there.
That's interesting. I think the feedback we're really hoping to get is our community's input about the community. I think that the consultants that we have are aware of what other libraries are doing in our area and across the country, and will bring that information with them. The idea being that they'll then sort of present some ideas to the community and say, okay, so some libraries are doing things like this or this. Have you thought about that? Is that something that might fit our community or might not? So we could certainly invite them, but the feedback we really want to get is the feedback from our community itself, because we want to represent them in our strategic plan and our services.
The reason I think of that is because what you asked there on the bottom is that the idea is to get as much input as from other individuals. I would think that they might be able to give us some insight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're 11,000, we're going to grow to 18 or 20, and Post Falls was at that point or something like that, might be able to come in with additional perspectives that we as individuals might not even think of.
And I will admit, I talk with those administrators during our CIN meetings and things like that. But I can certainly say, hey, if you guys would like to attend, throw it out to them. And in fact, the consultants are ones that CLN, Community Library Network, which has Post Falls and Hayden, they actually use the same consultant to do some strategic planning work and space planning work. So,
Good, thank you.
yes. Some other updates going on. Friends of the Library Summer Soiree. I saw some of you there. It was a really wonderful event, I thought. It was held at the Liberty Lake Winery and made approximately $4,800 after expenses, which for their second year is pretty good because the first year had made about $1,400. So the friends are doing something right. And we really appreciate all of their hard work because this all siphons back through the library to help us with our programming and other resources. And then this evening on the agenda, you'll notice that there's a prospective new member of the library board, Tim Olson. He did attend our last library board meeting as an audience member, so I got a sense of what it looks like. So he should hopefully be here this evening for you all to meet. And
So
other,
did you have more than one besides Tim?
as far as I know, we had just the one,
Okay.
and we were happy for that.
That's much better than one.
Yes, exactly. We like having a full board. It's good to get all the different perspectives
Right.
in there. And then I am working with Stephen from Jen's department to figure out where we can put some directional signs around town to show where to get to, how to get to the library and the police department. It's a question we often get asked. I don't know how quickly they'll get up, but we're working on it. I'm working on my design right now. And then just a quick overview of some of the online resources we have. I like to periodically remind people of everything the library has. So if you go to the online library category of our website, then you can log on with your library card and get access for free to Consumer Reports. We have Mango Languages, which does sort of a Rosetta Stone style conversational learning of languages. They have over 70, including English as a second language, Spanish for specific professions, like Spanish for medical or legal professionals. They also have some fun things like Pirate, so if you like to plan for Talk Like a Pirate Day in September, they've got you covered. They have Gale Legal Forms, so basic estate planning, small business, other legal forms. Newsbank, for those of you who really like to read the news. They've got the Spokesman Review, Seattle newspapers, national and some world newspapers online. And then ProQuest has some business resources from ABI Informed Trade and Industry and also from their research library. And then, of course, we have digital books and audiobooks available via Overdrive. So just a few of the things that we have. I'm always happy to answer more questions about them, but just a little bit more. And then what's going on at the library? We're continuing our story times. We have Cupcake Wars coming up this week for teens and tweens, which should be very exciting. We have Perler bead accessories for tweens and teens as well. We've got Ruminate Village STEM kits in that we'll be doing some programs with. And then we have some art classes for adults, and then of course our book club. And you can always find all of our programs online at our website. And that is everything that I had, unless you have any other questions for me. Yes, sir.
I just have a comment. I'd like to formally recognize the Friends of the Library and ladies whose thoughtfulness and kindness while my wife Jackie was recuperating from her recent injury, delivering goodies to our house. And there are a lot of good cooks in Liberty Lake, in case you didn't know it. And they're all better cooks than I am. But I did want to thank everyone, and your efforts are very much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Anything else for Jocelyn? All right, Lisa, you're up.
So I'm going to actually turn over my time to Barbara Barker, who's going to give you a 6-year report on our building statistics. If there's time at the end, I will give you a quick briefing on what's on the agenda for tonight and give you a couple corrections to my last minute PEBS report.
Good evening. All right, so this is actually going to be a 6-month report, not a 6-year report, just for the record.
Yeah. That's ambitious.
Very ambitious. There we go. All right, so this is going to be a quick overview, but here's your quick summary. So in general, the residential market is very, very busy. We've had a relatively light commercial market. We've been very busy with code amendments, as you've seen week to week, and land use and subdivisions have been less active. Here's some numbers for you, just to sort of play that out. So if you look at the two columns, the one on the left is 2018, one on the right is 2019, both of them just a 6-month value. So last year at this time, we had 21.2 million in commercial. This year, we've had 1.1 million in commercial in that same time period. So commercial has really been quite dry this year. In the middle, multifamily, nothing happening much in both of those time periods. But check out the residential, single family. This time last year, we had cleared and permitted 65 units, valued at 17 million. This year's same time period, 102 units and 31 million. So it's pretty astounding growth. That plays out if you look at the fees that were collected between comparing 2018 and 2019. You can see the overall amount was pretty close, 508 last year, 518 this year. The difference, again, just has to do with how much permit fees were put out. So if you look at the permit fees, it was 283 last year, this year was 340. So we picked up 58,000 just in the larger number of permits that were issued. If you look at where the building happening, 2016 full years on the left, 2017 full years on the left, and then the two that are on the right-hand side are both, again, 6 months. So the first 6 months in 2018 compared to the first 6 months in 2019. And again, you'll see the difference. So 65 units in 2018, 102 units in 2019. I left the same color coding so you can see where the differences happened. I think of note, the biggest note would be Legacy Villas. If you look at Legacy Villas, last year this time it was at, get my glasses. Legacy Villas was at 15%, and this year Legacy Ridge is at 35%. So we just had a boom happening up in Legacy Ridge, as you've probably seen. All of their percentages were pretty consistent. The one that's really been the drop-off has been Stonehill. If you've driven by there, not much happening, no new permits being pulled. They're really just trying to sell the units that are already in construction, so pretty inactive.
Does that include Legacy West?
It does, yeah. That's Legacy Ridge, PUD, and West. This is permits issued, so 2016, first half, second half, and all the way through. So obviously 2019, you just see the first half. Highest number that we've ever done in a 6-month period. So again, it's been busy. Again, some numbers for you. The top 3 really relate to what's keeping Lisa busy. So 14 code amendments, 1 site plan, and 1 final plat. So again, fewer on the subdivisions. 4th one down there is what keeps Scott busy, and that's just concurrently right now. He's got 10 projects running. For the building department, we've had 793 reviews of projects, 855 inspections. But what's interesting about that, keep in mind this is again January through June. In just July alone, we've had so far 422. So you're going to see the full year numbers are going to be quite high. We issued 335 permits, 86 certificates of occupancy, and 63 code enforcement. So we're hopping.
Barb, how many inspectors do we actually have?
We have 2 full-time inspectors, and then we brought on a part-time inspector. So 2.2 probably. Yeah, because he's just here 2 days a week.
So how much are they, I could probably do math, but probably not. Can you tell me about how many they're each handling on that? It seems like an awful lot of work for inspections,
It is.
you know, not just a quick cursory walkthrough, but
Right.
inspections. That's a lot of work for 2.5 people.
Yeah, it is. And one of the things, when we were chatting about that today, one of the things that saves us is because most of the developments are happening in a singular area, you know, like these houses are being developed together and then the next are being developed together, they just park their car and they're just going from house to house to house. So there's, the nice thing is with a small city like this, you're not spending a whole lot of time driving.
Didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I mean, they usually, when they leave in the morning, we don't see them for 3 or 4 hours, and then in the afternoon they're out for 3 hours or so. So, yeah, they're hopping.
Thank you.
Good thing we have the part-timer, he's helping
Kind of
a
look at the
lot.
numbers, it looks like they're doing it in July, at least 8 a day, each individual.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
consider roughly 20 working days.
Yep,
Yeah.
so that's right. We're running about 80 to 100 per week, so break that out into 5 days. And again, keep in mind, those guys are also doing the reviews for the new permits as well. So when they get back to the office, they immediately sit down and start reviewing.
And they're, okay.
And in other jurisdictions, a lot of times those are 2 different people. You've got reviewers and you've got inspectors. Our guys do both. Pretty impressive. In the first 6 months, we added 124 housing units to the city. 40, I'll get the number for you, 40 of those were multifamily, the rest were single family. And we wanted to give you sort of a breakdown of where we are in the subdivision. So River Crossing North is, it actually has 1 lot left, it rounds out to 100%. So River Crossing North 3rd is now full. River Crossing South is at 75%, which is extraordinary because they just started a couple months ago. River Crossing East addition, hopefully you guys will approve that tonight. As soon as that gets approved, I suspect that that's going to move very quickly. In fact, we had a gal who came in today. They're selling their house. They're over in Rocky Hill. They're selling their house they can build over by the park. So I think Rocky East is going to, or River Crossing East is going to quickly. Trutina 2nd's already at 62%. Again, that moved very quickly. Legacy Ridge is at 87%, and Legacy Ridge West, which again just started recently, is at 38%. So it's been extraordinary up there on the hill. So what's coming up? Land use and residential. Again, we just have the one final plot that we're looking at now, 42 lots. Hopefully that'll get approved, 4243. Land use commercial, none of them that we can talk about, but we do have some in the hopper. We have 2 for sure that we expect in the next couple days, and then 3 that we're in discussions with. So I suspect the next half of the year is going to be more active in commercial. Upcoming commercial projects, Ridgeline High School, I'm sure you guys have all heard about. They're obviously scraping ground now. We expect to be issuing this week on Ridgeline, or probably Monday actually. And Orchard Park Lofts, if you're not familiar with that, the ground that you're seeing scraped just across from the middle school, just south of Orchard Park. That's going to be multifamily. They have 3 buildings with 12 units and 1 building with 9 units. So nice looking apartments. And that's it. That's the short and sweet of it.
Can we get a copy of this?
You may. So that's Lisa asked me to print copies, and I said no. Let's save some trees. And so if you would like copies, I can just email everybody.
That'd be great, thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll do that. Any other questions?
No, thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll just be quick here on a couple things on what's in terms of what's happening tonight. Is that the ice cream truck? Sorry. Verizon Wireless franchise agreement got bumped at the last minute. We're hoping to have the first read on for the next meeting. River Crossing East Edition final plat. That's ready to rock and roll, and Barbara talked about that a little bit. The Northfield change order, which is a change order for not to exceed $50,000, that is for actually improvements that are going to be done on the school side that the school is actually going to pay for. But they're required to do something.
And I just got a phone call from Steven, and the bids came in higher than 50,000, so we're gonna ask the council to amend the agenda to pull it back.
Oh, okay,
It was,
sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't have time to tell you that.
No
My
worries.
apologies.
It's been a crazy day today.
Yeah.
Flashing beacons, we have ordered 3 flashing beacons, two of which were identified in the capital facilities plan, and the third is for a backfill and for you to decide where that's located. That bid came in at a little over 28,000. We're also asking you to delegate authority to award a contract to the lowest responsive bidder for Harvard Road Bridge overlay. So that bid opening happened on Friday, and Katie's actually going to share that with you in her city administrator's report. But I just wanted to share with you the reason why we're asking to delegate authority. That is a TIB project that we were actually held up because TIB was reviewing our plans. It has to be constructed by the end of September, so we'd like to award as soon as we've had the 5-day period has expired. And so that is our request for you tonight. Also,
How was it held up?
I'm sorry?
How was it held up?
It was held up by TIB, took forever to review the plans.
No big changes or anything?
No big changes, it
surprises?
just took them a long time to get through that, so. And this was a project that we kind of went back and forth on whether we were going to wait until we did the bridge widening. And the final determination was that we had to move on it now because of the condition of the bridge, so. Also on your agenda tonight is a request for you to approve the reallocation of funds to administer the Select Spokane site. We're part of a consortium. We pay into that to maintain the data on that. There's a contract with a group called GIS, which makes it very confusing. But EWU has been administering that site, and it's also supported by the realtors in the area. They post their available sites on that. So EWU no longer wants to administer that, and actually the plan is that GSI is going to take over the consortium and merge that Select Spokane site with the Advantage Spokane website. If you remember, when you approved the expenditure of funds for the website, there was a question about the administration. This is actually, the intent is that a contract will come back to you later in the year to take effect January 1st for GSI to take over that role. And it'll be similar. It will be close to budget neutral when that happens. The only difference is that it's based on population, our participation, and our population is increased. So you'll see a little bit of a bump in that, but that will be coming back to you for approval. But for now, they're simply asking that EWU wants out. Their contract actually was supposed to end on July 31st, but there's funds remaining. So this just authorizes the transfer of funds so GSI can administer it through the end of the year, when they will then be going live with the new Advantage Spokane website. So I'm sorry, a really complicated explanation, but it's really a simple transaction.
I'm just going to say, I think it's a very simple transaction, because what we're simply doing is transferring, if I understand correctly, the remainder of funds we haven't given them yet.
Oh, no, this is the funds that we've given them, there's leftover. So we would have gotten a bill for this in August, and instead, EWU is turning over the remaining balance in the funds to carry the site on through. So we're actually saving money, 6 months worth of funds, so it's a good story. And the last thing is the Selkirk Middle School Trail Workshop, and I did just want to indicate to you, in the packet for tonight, the mayor asked me to put together the agenda bill for this. In the packet for the workshop, we didn't have a copy of the letter that the fire district had sent in support of this project, so you'll find that on your desk. My apologies for that. We couldn't track it down in time. And with that, the only other point that I would make, unless you have any questions on what's on your report, is that, again, the only other correction is the Harvard Bridge overlay on engineering capital improvement projects. I was very, my report says that it's awaiting TIB approval to go out to bid. That's a vestige of the last month's report, sorry.
At least I have one
Yes, sir.
question, and it's concerning the River Crossing East Edition final plat.
Yes.
I can either ask that now or during the regular meeting. What's going to be preferred?
Again, we can address it now, but you can also, if you'd rather address it at the meeting.
All right, I look at the plat and down in the fine print, it says something about lots like 1, 2, 3, and 4, or something like that are, I guess it's multi-use.
They're actually they're multifamily. Again, that's consistent with what's in the River District. That they do have the potential to do mixed use, but
I'm sorry, it said mixed use, I believe.
yeah, I think so. So for lots 1, 2, and 3, 2 and 3 are actually going to be multifamily. We actually have already done a pre-development on them. We do not yet have the application for that, but we've already actually done the architectural design review.
Do we know what density we're going to have?
Yes, so that's one of the reasons why you see the number of units on there in the density calculation is because they chose to demonstrate the density for the entire phase of the plat as opposed to looking at individual lots, which they're allowed to do under code. So the average density for this phase of the development is 10.28, I think, units per acre.
I'm interested in specific, what is the specific use for those lots? What's it
So,
going to be and what's the density going to be? How large are the buildings going to be? How tall are they going to be?
that's not subject matter for a final plat. That's what.
Well, I know it's not, but from a practical point, do we ask them what they're going to do there?
So we do know what they're going to do for the one lot, the multifamily lot. Barbara already told you we do have the application for that. We've actually also already done the design review for, I think it's block 1, lots 2 and 3, where we have two 6-unit buildings. And they are designed to look like townhomes, multifamily homes. Again, it's a beautiful design. The form and format is very similar to what they do. This is all consistent with the River District SAP, development regulations for this zone, and what was anticipated in the plat. Preliminary plat, that is, I'm sorry.
If it's mixed use, it can also be commercial use in those lots, is that correct?
And that is, some neighborhood commercial is allowed in that zone as per the River District SAP and the development regulations established for that zone. So yes, so they could have, potentially they could have several units, and they call out that lot 1, block 1 is going to be 4 units. It could potentially be that on the ground floor they have a coffee shop or a sandwich shop or something for the neighborhood.
Do we know how many stories it's going to be?
I don't, because we haven't gotten a development, for that lot, we have not gotten anything yet, but they're limited in height, so I'm not too terribly concerned. They're limited to 35 feet in height, so it's only going to be 2 stories, basically, maybe 3, but they're even hard pressed to get 3 stories in a 35-foot building height limit.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we're going to take about a 5-minute break. And just make sure everybody, when we go to
Father in heaven, we are grateful for this opportunity to come together to listen and speak about the place we call home. Inspire in us imagination and wisdom to do the right thing. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible,
remove the agenda.
Second.
Can I, thank you, Mayor. Can I ask that you remove, let's see here, it would be 11B2. We received the quotes and we're not ready to move forward with that change order. We need to get back together with St. Clair School District and coordinate.
Okay. Also, Mayor, I'd like to ask the council to remove number 14 from tonight's agenda. Have it moved to the next council meeting, pre-workshop, pre-council.
Second.
Remove that, so the motions are to remove 2B and 14, correct? Both of them seconded, right?
Yep.
Further discussion, not hearing, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, there we go, so the changes before it as amended.
Second.
Second, further discussion, not hearing, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, there we go. All right, citizen comments. Consider citizen comments. Any citizen comments tonight? Talk. Let's go to Evan. This is what you want to talk about, because we're...
14's gone.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. Tom Solberg, Liberty Lake River District, neighbors, staff, and officials. I just wanted to say how much I appreciated, and I think the entire community appreciated, the work of the staff at the Barefoot in the Park. I had the pleasure of being there both days, and not only was it well attended by the citizens on all levels, but by my count now, if I forgot one of you, we also had not just Jen, Stephen, Trevor, Anita, but the mayor and in the city council, Chris, Shane, Mike, Steve, Dan, Brian, and of course Katie came to keep me in line at the rock painting thing. But it was a wonderful time. Saturday was a community event akin to, I think, the symphony, and I think staff just went over above and beyond. I know that there was a slide issue that needed to be taken down. Joe was there when somebody got a little burned when they went down the slide, and it was taken down, but those things are things that happen, and to the staff and to all of you officials and everybody that came and the citizens that supported it, it was an amazing event. Thank you.
Thanks to you. Any other comments? I don't rush the podium at once. Moving on, city board and commission reports. We have the planning commission. No? Okay, Parks and Arts Commission? No? Let's see, run out of stuff.
The library trustees.
Huh? Library board. There we go, there's time.
Mayor, Council, just wanted a quick update from last meeting. We continue to review the library's policies every month. Jocelyn is consolidating them when she's able to, and we're trying to reduce the number of policies, get rid of some of the outdated ones or ones that are no longer applicable. And that's pretty much all we discussed, other than the consent.
Needs assessment?
Needs assessment, thank you. And that's in process. That's you're gonna be hearing about that for a long time. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom. I think we've been through all of our boards and commissions, is that correct? So we're good with Lakeshore Water District, Council Commissioner here, Fire District. See the chief, he's waving off. Okay. City Council reports, Sue, Chris?
Actually, Mayor, I'd like to ask anybody here who's from the Friends of the Library to come up. I have something to present. Actually, you guys are Anyway, so I wanted to invite the Friends of the Library, as many who could attend tonight, to present something, an award from the company I work for, which is Tier Point. For those of you who are familiar with Tier Point, the name and the business actually started here in Liberty Lake years and years ago by Bernard Daines, who we tragically lost several years ago. Tier Point was then purchased in 2012 by a company out of St. Louis called Sequel Data Centers. And fantastically enough, they actually kept the Tier Point name. So we are now a company that has data centers, 40+ data centers nationwide. We do compliance, security, cloud services, managed services, all kinds of things to help your businesses stay afloat with regards to computers. So with the help of Jocelyn and the Friends of the Library's president, Holly Woodruff, we submitted an application, and this is the email I received. It says, Chris, thank you for submitting a charitable giving request. The Tier Point Gives Back Committee has reviewed your request, and we are pleased to inform you that $1,000 has been approved for your proposal to support the Friends of the Library, Liberty Lake Municipal Library. So we just wanted to... All I got was this email that the funds should be in the bank account this month. Congratulations.
Other council reports? I just want to join Tom in making a shout out to the city staff regarding the past weekend's event in the park. The Kiwanis, I'll say, did very well in the performance of the beer garden. We really enjoyed it, and I think the community did as well. Trevor, the two Trevors, I'll say, are absolutely on the spot to help out and provide support in any number of ways. And so I'm proud of our community, and I'm proud of our staff, and I just want to say thanks.
Dan, you did a good job making sure the popcorn was full.
You got it.
Jane?
I do want to second the amount of work and time and effort that was put into this weekend with all the staff, the Kiwanis, everybody involved volunteered their time and efforts. It was one of the best events I've seen in a long time in this community. It really brought a lot of people together. Great seeing the kids out there. So thank you to everybody that came, participated, or helped volunteer. Really showed a sense of community. Tonight is National Night Out. I know that Tortina was having an event. We saw them for a little bit. Make sure you get a chance to say hi to your neighbors tonight if you see them before nighttime hits. I know that Lisa and Katie were working with the Spokane Mental Health District on getting some information to us that we can look forward to shortly. That's all I have.
Good. All right, Bob?
Yes, I just wanted to comment. I missed the last couple of meetings, but I really didn't miss them because I was able to watch them on Facebook. And about 5 years ago, I suggested in a community development committee meeting that we televise the city council meetings. We're not exactly there yet, but at least we have them on Facebook. And I just want to let you know that I was 2,000 miles away when I was watching you all on city council meeting tonight. And the Wi-Fi connection really wasn't that good, but I could still hear and see you all, and I just want to congratulate the staff on the efforts that they're making to televise the council meetings. Thank you very much.
Any others? Well, I had the opportunity to work with Kathy Morris Progress, our congresswoman today, and had an opportunity to tour 3 different businesses that she hadn't been in before. Business is booming. A lot of comments were around employees, the wage, the minimum wage, both federal and state minimum wage, and the fact that a number of the companies that we dealt with were more into the manufacturing and prototyping side of the business, and how they're working together to help them all collectively cut costs so that they can be competitive, not only just here in the States but around the world. So great day with Kathy, and then we finished off with Spokane Valley Chamber of Commerce, and then she went on to meet with Itron, I think it was for later readings. So anyway, it was nice to have her. Kate?
Thank you, Mayor. Also, in the audience is Tim Olson. He's on your agenda tonight to be appointed, and I thought maybe it would be a good opportunity for him to come up and I didn't prep you on this, but introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Tim Olson. I've been here as a citizen of Liberty Lake for the last 5 years. My beautiful wife Erin is here in the front row. Originally from California, came up here, spent 30 years in the investment business. I have 2 beautiful daughters that go to WSU. Currently a real estate agent in Liberty Lake. Look forward to helping give back to Liberty Lake. They've given me so much that it's near and dear. We made a decision a couple of years ago when we had the opportunity to move on to stay because we love the community so much. So, thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Tim.
I'm going to go ahead and just jump into my report. I'll be quick. So congratulations to Councilmember Kennedy. I don't know if you had to take an exam or take classes, but you passed. He was awarded the Certificate of Municipal Leadership, and I'm assuming you have your certificate.
Yes.
Okay, very good. The needs assessment.
It's at the bottom of the drawer.
Oh, okay. And then needs assessment, I know some of you heard Jocelyn talk about this during the workshop, but Jocelyn, did you want to give the mayor and Shane weren't here, so Jocelyn has a question about having a meeting to get the mayor and council's input on the needs assessment.
Yeah, so we are in the process of inviting stakeholders to do stakeholder sessions during the week of September 23rd. And I was hoping that I could get council and mayor to have a session on either Tuesday the 24th or Wednesday the 25th. If there's a day that works better for you, if you could let me know, and then I'll send you an official invite. 6 or 7.
You said Tuesday?
Tuesday or Wednesday that week.
Tuesdays are always the best ones for us, pretty much, so.
That's
That was kind of the
That's
consensus.
generally
if it's
what
all
everybody
right.
was saying, so, all right, then I'll do Tuesday.
Will that be held here?
That's the plan.
So we'll put notice out that it's open.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Barefoot in the Park, you've heard a little bit about it, but Jen's going to give us some interesting details.
So thank you to everyone who attended. It was very fun. A little tidbit, we checked out 647 wristbands to children with our liability waivers. That's more than last year, so every year it gets a little bit higher. Special thank you to the firemen who attended the public safety booth with our PD. We utilized them multiple times, and they came in very handy with their first responder experience. Nothing major, but we did have a few small accidents and incidents, and they were right there supporting city staff because that's what they do best. And so we just were really good at directing them, and they kind of took over for us. So thank you to the fire department for being there. This year we did something a little different. It started out with Anita inviting Blair from Clear Risk Management. They are HR/insurance/ go-to for everything and anything liability and insurance people for the city. And she's extended an invitation to him to say, hey, we've been consulting with you all season on should we do this, should we do that, does this look good, does this not? And then I thought, we've never had a risk manager actually come in and assess one of our events. And we're getting so big, and this day and age, there are so many questions from our staff as just basic maintenance people. Should we do this? Should we do, how do we respond to that? And so I said, why don't you come on, would you be interested in actually inspecting us, if you will, and kind of doing an assessment of our event? So I would like to introduce to you Blair. He's going to give you a little update on what he found. Fingers crossed it was good.
Thank you, Blair.
All right, so my name is Blair. I'm the risk manager for CIAW. I know quite a few of you, saw you guys on Saturday. Thank you for inviting me, Jen and Anita. So with Clear Risk, I'm the risk manager for the insurance company in your insurance pool. You guys keep me busy. I always get a lot of fun questions from Jen and staff going, Blair, can we do this? Oh, what about this? Sometimes I have to say no because I have to look at what's best for you guys with safety. The slide this year was an issue. As most of you know what happened. Jen and the fire crew did the great thing. They made the decision, let's pull it, let's put it down and move on. They did the right thing. You guys are growing. The nice things with you guys are, with Jen and staff, I get contacted all the time asking, can we do this? And then have the discussion. I know I talk with you guys as attorney, Sean, a lot with just different issues, making sure you guys are best protected to keep you guys safe and keep your interests protected. making sure your insurance rates don't go up due to issues. This year, I know you guys did the bands. We had the waivers, we sent them over so you guys could fill them out, have the people fill them out, and it protects you guys. I just wanted to say your staff is great to work with. Jen and Anita do a great job of asking questions, saying, is this allowed? And it's just great to work with you guys. I appreciate it. And is there any questions for me?
How do we do?
You did pretty well. There was a couple issues we found. The main thing is cords, making sure they're taped down or covered in walkways. Even when they're in areas that you guys are using, we still recommended taping them down. I will be back at your playgrounds tomorrow morning, finishing up reviews. We did notice a couple things with fire extinguishers. For heights, they have to be mounted within certain ranges, 48 to 54 inches. So you'll find that on the next report. But your newest park is pretty incredible. Volunteer.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so the Harvard Bridge overlay, so this is the project that Lisa talked about briefly, and it's also on your agenda under 11B4. So I want to give you an overview. I'm going to give you some numbers, and let me put on my glasses. The budget for this project was $725,550. We had 3 bidders. The low bid was Shamrock. They came in at $329,000. Plus tax, plus contingency takes it up to about $412,000. 80% of that bill is paid for by TIB and 20% is paid by the city. This is not a throwaway project. We need to redeck it. I'm calling it redecking, resurface it. So we'll have a really smooth ride while the construction for the widening, if we move forward with that project, will be off to the side. So this is not a throwaway project. 80% is coming from TIB. So roughly, this project is about $200,000 under budget, and we paid 20%, so roughly $85,000 is about what we will end up paying for the redecking. So that's on your agenda, and as Lisa said, it is time sensitive, and so we have to complete the work by the end of September, which is why we open the bids. There's a 5-day right of rescission, so we can't award it tonight, but we wanted you to delegate authority to the mayor to award it to keep the project moving. Okay?
I'd like to reiterate, if I could, what you just said, is that for the benefit of our citizens here, is that overlay in that has nothing to do with what we have on the 3rd lane. It's not like we're going to tear up what we're putting down at this point. That's real important to understand that.
Yeah, we went back and forth a lot between should we combine them into one project or separate them. And we looked at all of the different scenarios, and because we had TIB funding and it was time sensitive, combining the whole project together, we didn't think there was going to be that much value. Plus, at the time, we didn't know that we were going to get funding for the widening. So we decided to separate them and move them forward so we can meet the time thresholds.
That question came to me several times over the last month at the farmer's market, where people thought that typically you go in and you see somebody do an overlay or fix the road, and then a month later it's tore up. And this is not the case here. We're not squandering the road.
And it will go quickly. We're probably looking at night work on weekends. So the bridge will be down during those times. We'll have to coordinate with all public safety and those folks.
Thanks, Kate.
Question, Kate. Have there been any other respondents on the bid?
Well, we had 3, and Shamrock was low. So, and the other, we really got really good bids. Let's see, the other, I didn't print them out, but I think the high bid was $410,000 from Poe. Second low was Inland, and the lowest was Shamrock.
Has Shamrock delivered with the city before?
Oh yes, Shamrock's been, Murphy Brothers, they've been around a long, long time.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, Councilmember Kaminsky, did you have a question?
No, you answered it.
Okay.
Thanks.
So the other thing I just want to touch on quickly, we mentioned this before, but I wanted you to all know that we're working on our insurance benefits with our employees. Our goal is to look at the program that we've had, which is the high deductible plan. It has worked out very well once we got through the mechanics of the benefit. I'll just leave it at that. But we wanted to do something a little more, which is allow our employees an opportunity to have different options and different plans, and also to opt in and opt out. Because sometimes they have insurance with their spouse, sometimes they don't need dental, they don't need vision. So we looked at ways where the employee can opt out and that we would incentivize it, because at the end of the day, we the city would end up saving money, and so would they. So we continue to work on this. I don't want it to be a surprise to the council, but everything that we've looked at so far has been cost neutral, so we're not expecting any impact to what the city pays for insurance. Provides some options for our employees, that's another. And then RJ's met numerous times with a group of our employees, and we've gotten some feedback, and overall I think it's gone well. The plan that we had, we did get positive feedback from people that have kind of figured out the mechanics of how to have a deductible and the reimbursements and the bridge and all that. So I just want to let you know we continue to work on it, and that we will be rolling it out to our employees, and then during the budget process for 2020, we will package kind of the results of the compensation study, the benefit plan, all together, so that when RJ does his presentation on the budget, we will have the most current information on this, as well as that compensation study. So just kind of a reminder that that work is underway. And then real quickly, dates to remember, we have a staff picnic. You guys are the cooks, I heard.
For the staff picnic, if everybody on city council that plans on attending can be there at 11, that way we can start cooking and having the food ready as soon as people start rolling in. And then if you can get together with me sometime between now and then, we can just coordinate who's bringing what and what we're all prepared.
And so it's August 15th, it's a Thursday at Rocky Hill Park, Selkirk Middle School. This is the grand opening, August 22nd, I believe it's at 5:30. I saw Ben.
Yes.
5:30. Then we have a cornhole tournament. Dan and I beat, just for the record, Councilmember Kaminsky and the mayor, but
Actually.
I don't necessarily, well, I don't necessarily, I think they were playing with loaded beanbags.
Maybe.
but anyway, there's a cornhole tournament. It's at Orchard Park. It's not too late to register. It goes to a good cause. This is FOPP's fundraising for the symphony, I believe. And Ridgeline High School groundbreaking is August 29th. The time is 5:30, okay? And then the symphony at Pavilion Park is August 31st, which I think is our last event this year in the park. So Mayor, that concludes my report.
That's it, huh?
That's it.
Good. So workshop discussions, Selkirk Middle School.
Lisa?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Lisa.
Yes, apologies. Just wanted to take a moment to, you have in your packets some information on the Selkirk Middle School. It involves the old railroad right-of-way that is owned by the county that is behind the middle school, and actually runs from the middle school all the way to the hub. As you may recall, when we considered our transportation improvement program this year, the 6-year TIP, you added $150,000 for this trail to be constructed in 2025.
Could you put the microphone closer?
Is that better?
Thank
Can you hear me
Yes,
now?
thank you.
And so you authorized funding for $150,000 to construct this trail in 2025. The trail has the support of the school district and the fire district. It is something that is potentially time-sensitive. Process, you've added it to your transportation improvement program now, but it's not yet in the capital facilities plan. You'll have to look at that as part of the budget process this year, and should you decide that it is time-sensitive, you would have the opportunity to look at funding that sooner.
Why would it be time sensitive? You said it might be time sensitive.
if you determine that it's time sensitive. And so that's the discussion that I think that the school district and the fire district and the mayor would like to bring forward. So again, just to have context to it, we certainly do have some options for how you move that forward. We do have to add it to the capital facilities plan as based upon what revisions were made in the transportation improvement plan, and so there are some opportunities to look at how that fits in your priorities. And with that, I'd like to sit down and let you have the conversation.
So, this trail that is looking at being done, this isn't on any major busy road, just for the audience's sake, so they understand. This is actually going behind houses on a property where the school is currently. I'm not saying that it isn't something that's needed, but on a scale of priority, on a scale of urgency, I'm going to say it, and I'm going to keep saying it until I'm blue in the face. We have got to get a sidewalk put in on the north side of Mission to be able to connect the residents of the River District to the rest of the city. Anyone that drives that road at night, I'm going to keep saying it because I do it every Friday night, sees people walking, people riding their bike, and that has to be a priority. It has to be. We got to figure out how we can do it. We've got great partnerships with a lot of different organizations. I've been bringing this up for a year now, and it keeps getting pushed back, pushed back, pushed back. It's just a matter of time before someone gets hurt. It's just the right thing to do for the community and figure out how it needs to get done. We need to step up.
Other discussion?
I'd like to, a couple of things, and I just read the summary statement that came along with this. And it talks about the county has approved an interlocal letting us use it. However, the county would retain ownership, the city would bear all liability for the right-of-way, as well as the full cost for construction and maintenance of the lands, and any adjacent lands that the county might acquire in the future. I would like an explanation about that, and does it mean as I read it, okay? Or is there some quirk in there that just makes it sound bad, okay? And when I say bad, I mean, they acquire land and we pay for it, and then we pay for the maintenance as well. So if I could get some clarification on that. Secondly, I would like to see something from the Public Safety Department regarding the placement of this, simply because it's in an out-of-the-way location. And if children are going to be walking up and down those locations, to and from school, school events, etc., what plans and methodologies does the police department have to keep this patrolled and make sure that this is a safety issue as well, and that their safety is provided for? And what type of liability are we facing by constructing a trail for the young people that hasn't been addressed yet? That's all, thank you.
The concept of this, I think, is just a fantastic concept. At this point, the last few years, the council put a lot of work into a system of coming up with priorities on projects. So, Councilmember Moore, I think, really led the charge on that, putting it together. I think it's an awesome project to bring up at council retreat, or bring up as we're deciding how to prioritize projects for the future. Councilmember Bergner, great points. That sidewalk on the north side of Mission, to me, this is just one person's opinion, to me is way higher priority than this, but I don't see it as an either or. They're both great projects. I think that these sorts of projects need to go into our into our strategic plan that we've been developing the last few years. And make this part of our prioritization conversation, not a, hey, should we jump forward and do it tonight? No, it needs to go through the process, the strategic planning process we've developed the last few years. I am all for this project. I think it could be great. Councilmember Blanford, you have some excellent points on safety, patrolling, excellent points that we would need to talk about in the design phase. At this point, one of the things I've struggled with is, I don't know where this trail's going. We've got language in there about amenities. I don't know what those amenities are. I understand it's roughly where it's going, but I need a little bit firmer concept before we even further the conversation from my standpoint. Love the project. Think it needs to come up in our strategic planning process.
For this project, I'm encouraged by this project. It's something, as time goes on, I sort of be supportive of. But I really see it being done at the conjunction along the same time we're getting the mission done with the trail on the north side. So it can be easily completed as a one whole project instead of being done piecemeal. But I think that it's going to take us, I don't know how long it's going to take us to get the easements and things of this sort here between the builders and that type of stuff. But on the north side, that is a dangerous highway right now. It really is. And with the tremendous growth we have over there, in the next year, 2 years, that's going to be pretty much built out. So it's only going to get worse as time goes on. So I'm in favor of this, but in conjunction with pushing it ahead as hard as we can to get the trail on the north side on Mission. Thanks.
I too would like better clarification with regards to the interlocal with the county. I'm assuming that stems around the fact that, at one point they were looking at partnering with the hub or doing a project there with more sports fields and whatnot, so I'm wondering if that's where this comes from.
So let me add some context to what the county's language is that Councilmember Langford referred to. So this trail ends up being called the Appleway Trail all the way into Spokane Valley. I think it almost goes to Argonne, don't quote me on that, but it's quite a ways. The county does not want to give up any right-of-way along this corridor. What they're willing to do, and they did this for Spokane Valley, they give you a license to use the right-of-way to build a trail. In doing so, you accept all the responsibility, all the liability, all the costs associated with building a trail. And then when the day comes that they decide that they want the trail property back, then they exercise, they call the license, they call the permit, whatever it's called, and they get it back. And then we've lost the trail. So that's kind of the arrangement, and it's not unique to Liberty Lake. It's the same strategy that they're using with Spokane Valley.
I think that explains it a lot better than it's written in the summary that we have. So I appreciate that. I also share the concerns with regards to safety along Mission, and then this Councilmember Langford mentioned the safety, the potential of that path going behind. I don't want to say this, but known problem area within our city, those houses there. I definitely see even an interim solution along, I know we're working right now with the homeowners who are already there with that portion of the sidewalk, but to get something started, even if it's a temporary project with ground gravel or something to separate the pedestrians from the motorists on Mission.
So let me, if I could just mention a few facts about this. So Mission is what I call an old county road. It doesn't have a shoulder, has drainage, it's just a ditch. It's only, people shouldn't be walking on it and riding their bikes. It was not built for pedestrians at all. Indiana, the street to the north, which is under construction, we encourage you to use that instead of Mission, especially at night because there's no lighting. It's a 40-foot right-of-way. We don't have room to put in a sidewalk. We don't have room to put in a trail. There will be frontage improvement provided by the developer. I have been in contact with the property owner to see if we could just get an easement to grade it out so there's a dirt trail for people to walk on, and I haven't heard back, so I will follow up. But I encourage people that want to walk in the River District to not choose the Mission Road that's currently there. Please choose a safer route because it wasn't built for pedestrians.
Because we brought this up for
I've
a
been
couple of years
talking about it
now.
for a couple of years at least.
So we thought we had, at least I thought, I won't generalize, at least I thought we had a path forward where we had talked to the developer and we were going to have some of that right away to do something, but we haven't, it hasn't been discussed in a very, very long time.
So there's a concept and a strategy, the timing hasn't arrived yet, but overall,
Let
we
me
just
address
don't
that
have.
just for a
Go ahead,
second.
Gary.
So, a couple of things on this trail is that we knew that we're gonna have the new middle school. We knew that the middle school kids were gonna utilize the hub. We knew that although that middle school would attract kids from all the different neighborhoods, that, and the valley was aware that they're gonna be, they're on our western end of that trail. And so they're in discussion now about how they're going to improve that trail to our neck of the woods. The whole concept came up when you see the yellow line that isn't in the cloud, the yellow line to the red line. That was in litigation, I think, with the county and Centennial Properties. That is now, I think, solved. That property now belongs to Centennial Properties, that yellow line. And the goal was to be able to move that line, take it, basically a trade-off, give them the middle of their development and move it over to Mission so that becomes the trail. So now you have a sidewalk or trail that connects all the way to the hub. And then as you fill in to north and south to Indiana, and those roads and Orchard Park, they would connect to that trail too. I think it is a priority for us to address trails in our community, and it will be a priority in this 2020 budget to ensure that the Mission Trail is in there, funded by either us or by the developer or a combination of both. Right now, the reason to bring this forward was to continue the discussion and movement forward as we addressed who owns it, who owns what, where the trail may be. And then from a standpoint of speaking with the fire district and our school district, and they've both written letters of support because of the kids. You need some kind of secondary access for the school during an emergency situation. So those are the facts. I don't necessarily think that we're trying to take anything back from Mission Trail. That's totally opposite. We're full blast on Mission Trail, so we get some money put in the budget. But I think this, again, is filling out our trail system. So, but in the long play was just trying to make sure we could have the right of way, have some kind of formal connection. So that's what I was brought forward to tonight, right? So that we can have a good discussion on this and at least make that first touch. Mike?
I can understand that your council's concerned about putting money into something that possibly the county can come at some date in the future and take that back. Is there a possibility to have conversations with Central Valley School District? Do they have land adjacent to that we don't have to worry about that, the county part of it? The possibility to work something with Central Valley? If we're here to discuss it, look at ideas, let's look at all the ideas. Let's don't start frowning, okay?
I want to recognize the county's interlocal as a use permit, akin to what the city of the Valley has presented their trail on. And I recognize the investment in that, and I would say they recognize the very long-term value and utility of that. Personally, I can't foresee the county acting on any alternate land use for this in my lifetime. With respect to the actual, I'll say, trail itself, I'll be direct. We're looking forward to a ribbon cutting at a new middle school on the 22nd of August, and in September, there will be students walking along that little yellow line. They're going to. And so really, I think at hand is, what is its current state, what could its state be, and when could it be? That's for consideration. I do also value, I think, really important support for Mission Road as a pedestrian corridor. And whatever can be manifested, I'd say realistically, I share Councilman Severson's perspective that it isn't an either or. They are both important pedestrian corridor improvements for the community. Yeah, I'm personally comfortable with the use agreement basis for the land, and believe, yeah, it's definitely the best way to execute it in terms of bringing pedestrian access in.
Chris?
Yeah, so I've got a concern with regards to process. I think we all, sort of agree that, that we need to do something, whether or not right now is the right time or not. But as Lisa mentioned, this is in the plan for 2025. Mr. Mayor, you mentioned that this will be in the budget that's going to be presented as a priority. But did this council not sit down and go through our priorities for the next X number of years, and this did not rise to the top?
I mentioned that mission is a priority. The mission trail. I didn't talk about this as a priority. I talked about the mission trail.
That's not how it sounded, but I appreciate the clarification. I just want to make sure we do follow the process, and if we are going to be shuffling around priorities, the council needs to agree to it as a body.
Yes, I just want to make a comment. I agree with Councilman Sievers and his evaluation. And I think they're both important projects. And it just brings to mind that we should be considering these in the context of our overall priorities and not look at them individually and say, well, this is a top priority. When you look at it individually, I think you got to look at it in the context of all of our projects. I think we can do that in the budgeting and prioritizing process for the 2020 budget, which hopefully we can get started on this evening. Thank you.
That was be my kind of question was, do we have a slotted date for when we're going to start talking about our priorities for 2020? Is that?
So we talked about that today. It's, so the mayor's budget, I think, comes out October 20th. 15th, and it will be shortly thereafter. So that would be when we do the capital facilities plan. Oh, thank you. So September 17th, we're going to do a capital facilities update to help us put together the mayor's budget that's coming out October 15th. I had it backwards. So September 17th, we will get your feedback on priorities.
Strategic plan and priorities.
Yes.
That's great.
Any other comments? Ken, would you like to make a comment in regards to the school?
Mayor Peterson, members of council, thank you. Katie, thank you for the opportunity to just talk about. I have to tell you, we're kind of frustrated with this little piece of road here, or right-of-way that runs between our school and the neighborhood to the north of us. And we're frustrated because we approached the county and weren't able to get the agreement that you got. Because we believed that early on when we were looking at access to this site, that would be a great access point for us to be able to move our kids and actually emergency vehicles and traffic. So we abandoned that because we found out that the county did not want to approach us. Mayor Peterson and Katie must have been able to work their magic differently. And so then we moved to a different secondary access that allowed us to have the access points needed for fire safety and those pieces. The frustrating thing is now that this piece of property is in the middle of nowhere, and frankly it's overgrown with weeds, and we've got a brand new school right next to it. And we're looking to partner. We're not looking at this point in time to build the trail. We would have built the trail if the county would have given us the right of way. We would have put the trail in. I was frustrated because we worked for months and months and months and months with the county to get this done. Frankly, we're looking for somebody to partner with that would help us. We'll look at maintenance agreements with you to help control weeds, to work on that. Because we've invested in our secondary access, it really is not prudent for us to do the capital improvements. But even if we could get the agreement to use the right-of-way with the city of Liberty Lake and the county, even if we could do that and get on there, clean it up, put a gravel walkway on it, allow our kids some movement back and forth, I guarantee you they will use that right-of-way to walk back and forth to those neighborhoods. They will be riding their bikes on it. We'll have to be working with our neighbors, and we're willing to do that and supervise it and help with that. But I have to tell you, it's been frustrating working with the county on this. Very, very frustrating for us as a school district. We wanted to do the right thing and put a trail in there that would have access, fire access from the hub driveway, and we were just met with nothing but, this is our right of way, see you later. And so I'm excited that we have somebody who's negotiated something that works, and would at least ask that we look to enter into some kind of agreement that would allow us to get on that right away and clean it up. You know, we asked them if we could get on it and clean it up, and they said, sure, we'll charge you $100 a month for you to get on there and clean up the right of way. So if we can get something worked out, and we can't commit capital funds to build the trail, but we certainly can commit that we as a school district will help you maintain that trail. And my concern is that it isn't maintained right now. And we will have kids on it, and it is going to be an area of traffic. Our area is fenced, so kids aren't going to come through there, but I do know that kids will access it. They'll access it to the hub. And I don't think we've compromised safety at all, but this is just one more route in a case of emergency to get the kids to an alternative shelter, which would be the hub. And they can walk there now. It would be hard to walk there now if we don't have the weeds cleaned up and have a safe pathway for them. So would encourage us to look at something here that gets us someplace for that. And again, like I said, we would have built the trail, but we spent our money engineering and putting gates on a secondary access out to Mission, as per was our direction when we tried to work with the county. And we're just going to put up a sign that said these weeds belong to Spokane County. Frankly, I'm just going to be serious. We have a dedication of a school, and the weeds along that right-of-way detract from it.
And in a couple hours, I've talked to Stephen, in a couple hours, he could go out and grade the weeds in an afternoon. So we're working on it.
So, and I don't want to, when I speak of this, I don't want to insert myself or the Central Valley School District into what your priorities are. But I think there may be some middle ground where we can get control of the right-of-way and work together to keep it clean.
Thank you, Ben. Appreciate your comments.
I have a question, sir.
Oh, sure.
Ben, where is your secondary access point now?
Secondary access is about in the middle of our site to Mission.
Can you point that out?
You can do this here. I don't know, this is pretty.
Rest of the roundabout.
This is pretty.
Probably a couple hundred feet.
Which one do you push here?
And it'll show up on all four.
The big one?
Yeah.
It's right here at the edge of this property, right there. We own this triangle that's to the north of this as well.
And they would go on to Mission? Is that where they would?
That would be our emergency vehicle pieces. Frankly, we would walk across the fields and paths to get in an emergency situation to get to the hub.
All right.
That's where that would.
Gotcha. So the secondary access has already been established for your school?
Yeah. We had to do that in order to get the permits.
Thank you.
Okay.
So why are we worrying about putting a secondary access to a secondary access?
Are you asking me?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm thinking it's a linear issue. When you go down to where the ball fields are going to be, the baseball fields and the football fields on the backside, I think that was what we talked about initially. So that if you're trying to get down there and let's say the football game is going on and all the cars in Harvest Parkway and it gets blocked out there when we have the open house. So where does the ambulance go? Where does that fire truck go? I don't know. I just want to make sure that they have some kind of extra access down where the kids are playing ball, because that's what they get injured.
It sounds like they have access.
Well, they have access.
So, again, we're discussing things that aren't really of a necessity at this point, okay? I understand that the school district and the Valley Fire Department have supported this. I appreciate their support and their partnership. but they both also supported our overpass going on Henry. But neither one is supported with their funds. They are both taxing authorities in the area of the TIF lift. So they have funds available to them just like we do. And this is a second situation where they support us spending our money, okay? But they're not spending their money to obtain any of this either. And we have a situation here that you did, or Katie did explain some of about the county and what would happen if they acquired some land, but we haven't discussed fully what land would be available and subject that they would want to take over, and why would it be our responsibility to take care of that land that they take over, which is unknown at this point. Nor have we discussed Mike's position that he brought up. So, you know, when can we actually talk about these issues? Whether or not it's needed, it very well may be. But from right now, from my perspective, they've established a secondary outlet. That problem is solved, okay? So now we switch to football games. Okay, so we started out talking about emergency access for the kids, and now we're talking about football games and what could happen at sporting events, etc. Their access is fenced. We have our guy from the insurance company with us. I'd like to hear from him or ask him for input at another time about what our liability is if we go out and actually improve an area for people to use as a pedestrian spot versus not improving it and they choose to use it anyway. So, yeah, we have a ways to go before I'm comfortable moving forward. I'm not saying I won't be, but right now I'd like to have some more answers.
A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Yes, sir, and we've taken that tonight.
And I wanted to clarify one thing, Odin, that you brought up.
Yes, sir.
One of our partners, the fire district, for the, interrupt you.
No, that's fine.
The fire district participated in our lift, our TIF, back in the day. In 2006, we put together a TIF. They did not get were not able to collect the incremental increase in the property tax value in the TIF. That was their contribution. The county participated in that. And the library district at that time participated in that. And so they're participating because that TIF goes in to the lift. And the lift is what is being utilized to match projects in the north side, trails, parks, Orchard Park, and the north-south corridor. So when they had the opportunity to participate, and I go back to Joe Dawson, and this is 2006 or 5, Joe Dawson said, we're in. They could have said, no, we don't want to participate. But Chief, I want to, again, acknowledge Spokane Valley Fire does participate in this, in the lift for our community and in the infrastructure. And to Ben Small, well, they don't participate financially in the building of roads, they build schools. And schools feed neighborhoods' kids with education. And the neighborhood education of kids generates housing in our community. And so without building those schools, we wouldn't be having an investment over there. We may not even need a trail over there if we hadn't built that school or the other schools. So, Ben, while you don't actually participate in the actual dollar funding for our overpass or whatever, you did participate in contacting all of our legislators and working with our lobbyists to promote, you know, our funding for the north-south crossover to the road. So you did participate, just in a different way. But I want to thank both of you. You know, this community thanks both of you for participating constantly to keep our people safe, to keep our kids educated, and make this a great place to live, work, and play.
I just had one other observation, Mr. Mayor. Katie Quick, this agreement in its form has no cost to the city, right? There's no cost in the counties and local to obtain, I'll call it, permission to use the right of way.
That is correct.
And, I'm sorry. If we did, for example, execute on the agreement, that would at least allow the city staff to regularly level the weeds on the property, even without the improvements to it.
That is correct.
Thanks.
Bob?
Yes, I've been critical for many years on city council about reactionary management. And I think this is another example of reactionary management. We have known that the school was going to be there for a long, long time. We knew what the development was going to be in that area. No one ever mentioned secondary access during any of those meetings or during this whole period, that it was being developed, built, now occupied. And now, all of a sudden, we come up with this crisis. We need this pathway. We need it right away, because school's going to start later this month. Now, is that good planning, or is that reactionary management again? I just don't like being put in a position about, we're the bad guys because we're not going to approve this, when we've had all this time to plan it, and the staff could have presented it until this meeting in August. And I'm in favor of it, but it's a matter of putting it where it belongs. You know, what's the priority? Should we be reacting again? This is another example of reactionary management. I just don't like to do that. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I was just gonna say, I like where Dan was going with regards to, what, is there a cost to the city if you execute this agreement? I know the summary statement said $150,000 for construction costs in 2025. And yeah, we would be taking on the liability at that point, that would be my concern. But if we do execute an agreement, what are we committed to with that besides just taking on the liability and the maintenance of that? It doesn't necessarily mean that we have to spend on construction, is that correct?
That is correct. It would be a good trail unless you put dollars into something different.
That's the exact same correction, Chris, that it seemed like, Superintendent Small, I appreciate your thoughts and the struggles you guys had to obtain an agreement. I don't agree with reactionary planning. I don't really see this as an example of that, though. I think we're here to talk about it. It's an opportunity to put it on our priorities list. We've got an agreement potential out there from the county, though. I don't think we need to make a decision tonight, but after we talk about it, we need to think about making a decision pretty soon about whether or not we want to accept the liability piece of that. I love your idea. Let's talk about, are there any other implications of this that maybe we're not seeing? And I think Sean would probably brought it up with us if there was, that it's an opportunity to at least accept the agreement. And then we can make a decision about, do we want to trail next year, do we want it in 2025? When we want it, is it a priority at that point? So I don't really see it as reactionary. We have, this conversation has been around for a little while now, so I don't think this isn't new. It came up with council several months ago. Also, I think it went to some ideas on secondary access when the planning commission quite a while back. So anyways, I appreciate you guys bringing it up. I appreciate all the work. I think this would be a really good project. To Superintendent Small's point, the kids are going to use this. I know a lot of tonight has been presented as this is emergency access, secondary access, and that's one idea of why I support it. I would support this just as strongly because there's a great partnership that the city has with the Hub. We have a great partnership with Central Valley School District. And there's a great pedestrian pathway to connect the middle school with the Hub. If you're not familiar with the Hub has a lot of great middle school programs for kids. And it's a great connection point between the two. If it happens to serve as emergency secondary access or tertiary access, fantastic. So be it. But it's a great pedestrian pathway there too. These will get used with sometime between now and when the county puts in a light rail system or railroad system. So may as well get you some. So anyways, I'm in support of the project. I just agree that we want to make it part of our priorities as we're going through that 2020 strategic planning conversation.
Mike?
To reiterate, I am in favor of the program as long as it goes along with everything else along the mission. We've heard a lot of different reasons why to do this tonight. I think every one of them has merit, I really do. If there's a challenging football field, or a game, or access, in addition to what we already have access. And that's all great, but what I've heard over the last 10 minutes is it's boiled down to, and I appreciate Ben's comments about the county owns that, and there's weeds and it looks like hell. Then what I hear is that, well, maybe we can move forward with this agreement so we can take care of the weeds. Well, if that's it, the county's responsibility. Have them take care of the mowing and the weeds. I don't see the necessity. I appreciate what you're saying, Bob. In my business, we always said it was management at crisis. The crisis is here, so let's jump at it. If it suddenly boils down to it's the issue with the weeds, and if I was Ben, I would hate to put all the money we put into that facility over there, and it's tax cities, it's a residents' money that's put into that school. Okay? It's not the schools. It's tax money that did that. I would want to look out and see those weeds, but I don't see it as an emergency or managed by crisis that we need to jump into this so we can take the weeds down. Have the county get in there and take care of that, and we can look at this as we move forward, because I like the discussion we're having tonight. I think this is outstanding. This is what this council needs to be doing, talking about issues. Thank you.
Shane?
I want to make sure I'm clear on this. I am in favor of looking at providing trails for our kids. I'm in favor of the concept of this. But I do find it comical, maybe I'm losing my mind, I don't know. But I do find it comical that this trail that is not adjoined to any major road has all of a sudden become, we can get access to it. In fact, they can get out there and take care of it by tomorrow.
This road, right along here, go drive it. 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night. Tell me how long it takes you before you can see a little kid in front of you. Walking, riding a bike. 2 years. That's been for discussion. But boy, we can get in there and
Take care of that trail. They'll grind those weeds down by tomorrow. I'm sorry. I don't get it.
Any other discussion? Here we're moving on to the Washington State Department of Transportation report.
Okay, so things are moving along. I provided you all a copy of the edits back. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it or not. There's still a lot of details that we have to work out. They have to do with the landscape credit. I'm in negotiations with WashDOT right now. There's also stormwater issues that I need to resolve. There's also cash flow and also the numbers and the dollars. So I don't have anything formally to present to you tonight because things were moving as of this morning. But things are moving along with WashDOT, and I have a meeting tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock to go through some more details. And it has to do with nailing down the figures and also who's going to be doing what, the checks and balances and all that. But things are moving along. I'm cautiously optimistic. I want to make sure, what I want to bring back to you before you approve the contract is the what-if scenarios. What if you're on budget? What will it cost the city of Liberty Lake? What if it's over? What if it's under? And those kinds of things. I still have questions about the right-of-way credit. I also have questions about the soft cost dollars and the allocation of those, and I don't have all that information right now. So all I can tell you is it's moving along. I will give you an update in closed session on the negotiations with the county on the right-of-way that we need to build the bridge. And we have to have that agreement with the county before we can execute the agreement with WashDOT. If things go really well with the county, I should also mention the county commissioners are on a 2-week hiatus, so to speak. They're not available, they're not in the office, I'll leave it at that. Some are available. And so things are moving along, but I'll give you a specific update in closed session. Along those lines, if things start coming together really well, I may ask that we have a special meeting because I want to get the county's agreement has to be approved by you, and then the watchdog agreement needs to be ready to go almost at the same time. So if between August 20th and I think it's September 3rd, if we can move things along really quickly, I might default to a special meeting for your approval of the contract. But tonight, I'm here to answer any questions you have, but I don't have anything really specific to say, other than our conversation continues.
Thanks for all your hard work, Katie. Sean, too, and David involved.
Okay, action items?
Mayor, I move action item consent agenda 1 and 2 to approve July 16th and July 30th city council minutes.
Second.
Second, further discussion? Not hearing, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, there we go.
Consent agenda number 2 to approve August 6, 2019 vouchers in the amount of $679,493.18.
Second.
Second, further discussion? Not hearing, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, there we go. General business?
I move general business number 1 to confirm Mayor Peterson's appointment of Timothy Olson to the Liberty Lake Municipal Library Board of Trustees.
Second.
Moving to second discussion. I just want to say, Tim, it was a great pleasure chatting with you, and I love your commitment to our community, and I think you're going to be a great addition. So, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
I move
3, right?
general business number 3 to approve purchase of flashing pedestrian beacon equipment in the amount of $28,240.26.
Second.
Second, discussion?
Yes. Question, this was in our capital improvements for that particular location?
It was in our budget, and we identified the locations during the budget process last year. That is correct.
Okay. I was over today.
I'm sorry,
I'm sorry,
but
go ahead. Go ahead.
what we haven't done in the past, and you know, I'm not gonna speculate, I don't recall that in the budget it actually identifies the locations. But I can tell you from a staff perspective, we identify the locations, and then we ask for that pedestrian budget during the budget process.
Okay. That was going to be my question, thank you. Also, I went over today and looked at that. And when we talk about priorities, I know that we had citizens come up with Garden Ridge and bring it forward. You've had meetings with them. I think we're kind of waiting to see where we're going with that. I understand there's one left over, it's going to be used for something, whatever the council wants. But I wanted to look at the facility to see where that's going to go. That's going to go on the corner, right there at the Bitterroot Road, I think it is.
Bitterroot Apartments at Mission, and it
Right.
connects the sidewalk on the north to the sidewalk on the south.
Right, where there's really no businesses on the north side.
Um,
There's art, there's the restaurant, there's a pizza place, and there's a convenience store, and there's a motel.
And there's the connection to the pedestrian bridge. And I
Right.
know just the other day I saw strollers trying to cross there, but, you know, it gets, Hugh drives it more than one.
Heavily used for pedestrian crossing.
I travel out a lot myself, and watch that. Because I'm very sensitive about these lanes everywhere in the city, everywhere. That I notice where they are. So what we're gonna be doing is, because there's a double lane there, we're gonna have 4 of these. There'll be one on each side of the street, on north and south of the property, and then there'll be 2 in the center of the road. Same thing as we have out here.
I don't know for sure. Scott's not here to answer that question. I believe the left turn when you are eastbound
Talks about 2 will
tapers
be,
off.
talks about 2 will be installed on East Mission Avenue across from Bitterroot. And it's really the same setup for highway. So we have out here, we have 4 of them. And one of them is 200 feet.
So this is 3 sets. So 2 sets would be set up at that location. The other thing I wanted to mention is that the extra set that we're ordering in this contract is for parts because they get hit. And so we always want to keep a set of devices on board in our warehouse so that we can easily repair them.
So
Because they
that
have
other
been
one-
hit before.
The other one that we've ordered is designed for parts.
Well, if something gets hit, it's for us to have the parts available to.
So since the other crossing unit is a spare to be installed per council priorities, When in reality, that's not correct. It's being utilized for parts. Is that correct?
So we're buying 3.
Right.
2 are going in, 1 is we're keeping, it's not really, we don't part them out. When something gets hit or broken, we take out the old one and we put in the new one, we don't part them out.
Right. About a month ago, I was told that we already had a couple in the warehouse.
We did.
Have they been used somewhere?
Yes, they
Where?
were installed on the north side of Orchard Park.
North side of Orchard Park. Okay. So in reality, the other 2 crossing units is fair to be installed for council priority is not correct, because we will hold on, I assume we're gonna hold on to that in case one gets run into, we'll have parts. So obviously, we can't use that for council's priority,
So let me,
because we need to use it as a spare.
so the council priorities are based on what got decided in 2018 for 2019. So they're being installed based on the priorities that were established, as my understanding. The other part is we've ordered one more than we actually need, so that we can have it available. And parts wouldn't be the way I would describe it. What I say, it's a device so that when one gets hurt, the other one can go in. We don't part them out.
Right, I understand, but the point is, it's going to be kept there. It's not going to be for.
It's a backup, it's a
not going to be
spare.
for council priorities.
Correct.
It's going to be utilized, we're going to keep that there in case someone gets damaged. So in reality, we don't have any to put in a new location, such as the situation we have here right outside our door.
The Garden Ridge
Right.
request, and then we have the request on Boone, we have the other request on Melbourne, we have the other request on other parts of town.
I'd like to point out that Garden Ridge, I brought that up on 2 occasions prior to me ever being elected this month. And that was the first thing, one of the first things I brought up after I was elected on it. And I was told is that that's been looked at in the past, we're not going to do anything there. And it seemed like it just keeps getting kicked down the road. It has nothing to do that I reside there, it has everything to do with public safety. Public safety.
So
We
I-
just spent 30 minutes or so talking about public safety for the kids and things of that sort there on it. If it's public safety, then let's put priorities in public safety. I was told that we had several of these, at least 2 of them, correct, Mayor? Seated in the warehouse.
I understand.
Yeah, and they can be utilized. Then I understand we're ordering 3. If that's the case, why don't we order 4 sets? Because if we need to have 1 set sitting around in the event of an emergency, which I'm not against that, let's have another set. So if something, if it's a public emergency, not an emergency, but a priority, it can be taken care of. I'm really curious of the council's thought on this.
Mr. Mayor, I'd suggest that it is the council's priorities that the currently operating safety pedestrian signals maintain their operation. And so having what's necessary to keep that running is really aligned to the council's priorities. That's my perspective. I'd look for the budgeting process to insert an additional when the time's right. And Mike, honestly, if there's an additional one needed, let's make a budget and then it happen.
I couldn't agree more with you, Dan. Honestly, I couldn't agree more.
And that action is staffed a certain way and take it from the
So we do have a budget workshop, excuse me, not a budget workshop. We do have a workshop on flashing beacons at the next council meeting on August 20th.
Very good.
And
Thank
what's
you.
very important that I point out is that public safety, and I've heard a lot about that today, whether you're walking down Mission or you're crossing Country Vista or whatever, look both ways, be safe. We don't want anybody, anywhere to get hurt, ever. I want to underscore that. However, when we put in the beacons, and we will go through this, there's certain criteria that we use, and the last thing we want to do is put it in the wrong location where there's not warrants, and then there's a liability exposure to the city. And there are criteria that we use, and we have told many people in this town that there are locations where we cannot put them for warrant reasons, and it's a design issue. It's not that we don't want to, it's they work in some locations very well, they don't work in all locations. So with that, let's leave it to the workshop, and we will bring it forward in 2 weeks.
I'm very pleased it's going to come on August 20th, because I do believe if it had not been for Citizen and our neighbors over here bringing this forward with that concern about people speeding through there, It happened to me tonight when I'm trying to come across with a golf cart, and an individual gives me the finger because I was going across the road. I'm offended by that. I'm offended by that because of that's the traffic that travels there is so fast. Traffic that's over here, they can see long in a distance on it. They can't see it here. I seriously believe if the citizen had to come forward and talked about the challenge of this crossing right here, this would not have been on the workshop. And we wouldn't have a policy because I do not believe we have a written policy. Mayor and I have talked about this, and he's assured that we're going to have a written policy on it. So for that, I think we're making headway.
So
I appreciate where we're going.
There's technical requirements, and so it's not driven by a policy necessarily. Certainly the council priorities are different, but we refer to the MUTCD, and those are the criteria that we use for making sure that we don't put in as something at a location where it's not warranted.
Oh, I understand completely. Yeah. And then all of that will come out of the workshops. Once again, I appreciate we're going to have a workshop on it. Thank you.
Further discussion? Not hearing all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There you go. Number 4.
I move general business number 4 to delegate authority to the mayor to award a contract to the low responsive bidder providing contingency and sales tax in the amount not to exceed approved budget for Harvard Road Preservation Project.
Moved and second. Further discussion? Not hearing all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There you go.
Move number 5 to authorize the transfer of funds and site administration for the Select Spokane website from Eastern Washington University to Greater Spokane Incorporated as the associate development organization for Spokane County.
Moved and second. Discussion? Not hearing all in
Just
favor.
a question. Is this transfer going to cost the city of Liberty Lake more in amount of dues since they're going to be maintaining this portion of this project?
It is not. We actually have a cost savings because there were funds left over from the consortium. So we will be bringing back a contract towards the end of the year for starting next year. And the contract, if I remember, it was about $1,200. It's a minuscule amount more than what this contract was, and it's based upon the increase in our population. And we will be bringing that back to you, as I said, in the not too distant future.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Not hearing all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There you go. Okay, we're at the public hearing on the City of Liberty Lakes 2020 preliminary budget. This is where RJ gets to have some information and then get some citizen input. First shot. Okay.
All right, almost there, sorry. So, just a brief, just a summary of what's on the budget. This is, I kind of consider this kind of kickoff to the budget season, knowing that we've been working on it for quite some time. The directors earlier this week, and actually officially today, got notice to start working on their 2020 operational budgets. But tonight I just want to go over just a few highlights for you, where we're at, and to let you know we do have a little bit of homework, and we've been talking about some items tonight that would be proposed to be adding to our capital facilities plan for 2020. So tonight is going to be the first public hearing on the budget, so the public has an opportunity to speak to items regarding the 2020 budget. If I was going to encourage the citizens what to comment on, would be more maybe items they'd like to see that the city work on. And we talked about the pedestrian beacons tonight. We can talk about other items I've heard come up in the past. Dog parks were recently mentioned at a council meeting. Those would be items that the citizens may potentially want to weigh in on. What I handed out on the large sheet is 2019's capital facilities plan. And for what I would like council to do is to review that, and on September 17th, we'll bring this back to discuss what the 2020 plan will look like. Obviously, we have a lot of projects in queue for this year. What are the priorities, additions, subtractions we would want to make to this list for 2020? So your homework is to take a look at this list, see if it's still a good project list. Is there funding that want to move up, move back, and to have that input here in about 5 weeks. Mayor's budget comes out on October 15th, so we want to incorporate the capital facilities plan in with the mayor's budget on the 15th. So when you see it, a lot of discuss has already been discussed. On the calendar that I handed out, a couple of the updates on there was I added a workshop on November 12th to discuss the 2020 budget. We can add another one later. I just figured we'd start with one, and we can add another special meeting later if we feel like that is needed. But that was a date that I chose because that gives you about almost a month to review the budget from when the mayor introduces it on October 15th. So with that, is there any questions?
So RJ, I'm just looking on the first page under transportation, so we need to update the Harvard Road Bridge widening with the funding
Correct.
that we have, and then also Henry Road, do we need to add that? Henry Road is there.
Yeah, I think Henry Road is there. I think update the funding.
The timing is.
The Selkirk Middle School Trail that we talked about, got in the transportation plan, it's not on this one, so that's one we want to add into that, but the funding would still say 2025 at this time. So. All right.
If I could just add to that, so you did approve a 6-year transportation improvement plan this July, as you do every year.
Use the mic, please.
I'm trying to. I am. It's just not working. The TIP, the changes that we made to the TIP related to changes in, we had better budget estimates, some projects were moved, etc. When we bring back for the workshop to the CIP, we will be making the revisions that you made in the TIP, so that'll be reflected there. There'll be some projects that were going to happen this year that may get bumped into the next year, and so we'll have all those identified, and then we'll do our best to add whatever projects we've already heard suggested from this group as placeholders for discussion.
Anything from you, Kate?
No.
No, so this is the public hearing, this is all the information, so 8/21, Glenn?
I have a question or concern. I'm looking at these dates, November 12th, workshop 1, on November 12th, 2019. And we need to make the decision no later than December 3rd. We tentatively need to make sure what date we would have a second workshop.
So the first read on the budget ordinance is December 3rd. We typically do the second read by December 17th. If we're going to do a second workshop, you can set a special meeting for any night going up to there, but you would look at the off Tuesdays, which would be November 26th. We can shoot for, since there's 5 workshop Tuesdays in October, we can add a workshop for that December one. I just want to make sure you have, council has enough time to digest.
Right. My concern as a council member, but also as a citizen prior to council, is when you look at the date, you guys work on the budget all year long. Anticipate what's going to happen. We're the ones that have to make the decision, and yet we have a relatively short window of opportunity to understand it, read it, understand it, ask questions. I know that NVQs can be done, but in all honesty, in the past years, what I've observed, very few questions come in. 2 or 3 at most. But it did seem that the workshops did generate a lot of questions. And the second one generated additional questions from the first one, of which I've said on many occasions, I think those both workshops were very advantageous. Very advantageous. So I hope that we would lean that same direction, council. Okay. Thanks, RJ. I appreciate it.
And you do have December 31st technically, so you could wait out right to the last minute.
Already not? No.
Yeah. We have a big party, December 31st.
31st?
Yeah, fireworks, everything.
Might be the easiest way to get decisions out of this. Just have a little libations.
No, this is council.
December 31st.
After you pass the budget. 8:24 for the public hearing on the budget is open at 8:24. We invite any comments, you heard some comment chatter tonight. You might have some ideas of your own. I'd like you to come and say, hey, I'd like to have law for this, for that. Because that's what we're looking for. You know, just we'd like to have a drinking fountain for dogs at Town Square. With that said, the public hearing is closed at 8:25. Make sure all my comments are in the minutes, okay? Okay. So we do have a resolution 19-257.
Resolution number 19-257, City of Liberty Lake, Spokane County, Washington. A resolution of the City of Liberty Lake, Washington approving the final plat of River Crossing East Addition located in a portion of the southeast quarter of Section 8 and a portion of the southwest quarter of Section 9, Township 25N, Range 45 EWM, Liberty Lake, Washington.
Move resolution number 19-257.
Second?
Move to second.
Yes, I made a comment, I had a couple of questions about this resolution. In the final plat approval, without really knowing precisely what's going to be developed on lots 1, 2, and 3, we know that they can utilize mixed-use zoning there and build apartments and commercial development. We don't know precisely what's going to be there. That's what bothers me. I have a lot of confidence in Greenstone and what they've done in the past. And today they just closed down our street to put in dividers down North Country Vista Boulevard. They already finished the landscaping on the north part of the street. And they do really nice things. It's going to be, once it's completed, it's going to be a great amenity for that area. But I don't know exactly what's going to be here. I think we just have to trust that Greenstone is going to do something nice and appropriate there. It kind of bothers me that we don't know precisely what they're going to do there. That's my only comment. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Not here?
Excuse me, yes, sir. Relative to what Bob was talking about, we approve a plat, okay? At any other time, does what is actually being constructed there come back before the council?
Not if it's compliant with development codes.
Okay, but we get notification at some point of what it's going to be, the city does.
Well, through a development process, if it's consistent with what the development code says, then no, it does not come back to council.
I didn't ask that. The city will find out what is being built there at some point.
Yes.
If I may, so we have different projects, different processes. If it's a type 1 project, then we do a notice of decision, or a notice of application, and we do the full meal deal in terms of the advertising to the public, putting it on our website, etc. That's if it's a type 1. In this particular case, these projects would not necessarily be, they would be exempt by virtue of the fact that they've already done the SEPA for them, for the density, etc. So what I do now, that was not what I wanted to do, there we go. What I do know is that we've already received the multifamily application for here, you've heard about that. And that is, it's already gone through design review with the planning subcommittee, and it's actually, we're ready to issue the permits on that. For These two lots, they have gone through preliminary design review for some smaller multifamilies that have that very much look like, they're scaled to look like single-family residences, even though they're 6-unit multifamilies on each of these two sites. I don't know, to your question, I do not know what's on this site, but what the density table says is that it's only going to be 4 units. It could potentially be a mixed use, and they could potentially have something similar to what they have in Kendall Yards, yes, thank you. Where they have the ground floor is an office, or the ground floor is a coffee shop or a restaurant or something like that, and then the upper floors are still residential. They could potentially do something like that. We don't know. Again, if the traffic generator was large enough, it may trigger that we do SEPA for the commercial. The commercial could trigger it. At this point, I don't know that whether that will happen or not, and then there'll be notifications. So I know it's
Appreciate that. Thank you for the information. We deal with this day in, day out. We don't. Okay, so
Understood.
it takes us a little bit longer to comprehend everything that you're talking about. But to Bob's point, there will come a time that you do know what's going to be built there. And we really appreciate it if you just drop us an email, whatever, tell us in open council, just tell us what's going to be built there.
and we do try, workshops, that's why we tell you what's going on.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Any comments? Chris? No? Good to go. Okay, so resolution 19-257. So, with that said, all in favor of 19-257, raise your right hand. I count 6 out of 7 out of 7. Okay, it's adopted. And so, upcoming agenda items, okay?
So I have a time management question for the council. So on next workshop at 6 o'clock, we have our finance director, our operation and maintenance director, Jen and RJ. We also have a workshop with House Bill 1406. That's the folks from Spokane County Mental Health that are coming. They've asked for 20 to 25 minutes. And so that's going to fill the whole hour. And then I heard about the donation policy going to the workshop. Move it, okay. So the donation policy will move that. Okay, there we go. And then also, I optimistically put an agreement with WashDOT. I doubt that it's going to be ready because we have to get the county's agreement first. And then we have award of a bid for the public works yard fencing. We opened the bids last week, and they came in well within our budget, so we're good there. And then there's a first read ordinance that Lisa has with Verizon franchise, and I know she and Sean have been working endlessly on that. And then also during the 7 o'clock meeting, there's the flashing beacon location criteria workshop.
So before we
Mr. Mayor, I have a question for Katie, if I may. We postponed the Northfield improvements tonight, $50,000, because we don't know the final dollar amount. I get the impression time is of the essence of this because we have the contractor and they're now working. Is this going to come up in our next meeting? We're going to know the dollar amount?
I doubt
So we
it.
can move ahead on this?
I doubt it. So the change order was predicated upon a certain dollar amount and working with the Central Valley School District to do the frontage improvements along the road. And that dollar amount was exceeded. I just got a phone call at just before 6 o'clock that the change order cost was $70,000. And so that exceeded the $50,000 that we had, were given preliminarily. So we just pulled it from the agenda. I don't know when it's going to come back, when or if.
So the priority really not is as much as I think it is to try to get this done while the contractor's in there doing the work for us now. It may not make sense.
So if it was going to be a change order to our contractor, then we'd have to do it now. But because the price exceeded the amount that Central Valley, they would probably just go out and bid it themselves.
Okay.
Yeah, so if it moves forward, it can still move forward, it just wouldn't be a change order to our contractor.
I just saw a real benefit to not only us, the city, but Central Valley, that if we could move this ahead, assist it with the same contractor that's there, it would benefit everybody.
Right, yeah. And
Thank you, I understand.
okay, thank you.
Okay. So, We're done with that, right? Okay, so citizen comments, last shot at the apple,
I love apples, so, probably why I'm always getting that. Stop serving apples. DG Liberty Lake. The reason that I'm talking now, I'm talking as an individual who lives here, a grandparent who has a child, and then children who will go to the new schools. Mr. Brickner said something very important. I usually don't stand up unless somebody just throws in something that I have to address. It isn't if, it is when. When the person, most important, the child, is hit on Mission Road. If our risk management were to stand up here today, he would say, just like he said when the child was lightly burned on the slide, fix it, remove it, improve it. If we can take $3 million and addition to $2 million plus and add to the beautiful Orchard Park, if we can do this and we can do that and we can improve, the first and last thing we always must remember is safety first, human safety first. Perhaps it wasn't discussed as a priority, but neither was Katrina, neither was Maria, neither were some of the most important events that have happened across the country. But one thing Liberty Lake does not want to do is the discussions prior have led into the deliberations today, and anybody who's going to watch this that has a child who may go to that school says, where do I contribute my bag of gravel? 1. When can I start digging the trenches? 2. What place do I write the check? How many GoFundMe pages do we need to get it done? Because it's a must. We are a critical mass right now in talking about an issue that it doesn't matter who brought it up. It matters that we're talking about it now, just as I talked about flooding and why it was important to become a member of the compact. And now we have a resolution, but we still don't have the ordinance that makes it happen. And if we flood today by an unforeseen consequence, every single solitary person in this room and outside of this room is going to come back to this government with a lawsuit. We are not a litigious community. Please don't make us into that. Make sure when you say safety first, you mean it. My daughter, my grandson, my son, my grandsons, my daughter, her daughter, we're all in it together. I thank you for your consideration.
Other comments?
My name is Mark Saba, live on 1221 North Melbourne. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I concur to Shane from DG what they just said. I brought this up about a month ago. I don't have any kids that live in this neighborhood, but I have a lot of my own kids that live in my neighborhood that I call my kids. And a lot of them are going to be starting to go to that middle school. And I've been down that road like Shane talked about at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night after dark, and you can't see a darn thing. And I understand what Katie is saying to you, they can use Indiana. We're talking teenagers here. Shortest point between the line is they ain't going to go down Indiana, they're going to go down Michigan. And I think something needs to be done, and if there's anything that I can do to help, I'm here for you, okay? That's all I have to say. Thanks.
Brad?
Brad Hamblett, Settler Drive. I'd like to make a few comments and maybe get some clarification about the trail between the school and the hub and the Mission Road. So is the trail also going to be considered a secondary access for the school? Was that the intent of the trail? I'm asking whoever could answer the question.
I'll take a stab at it if that's okay. So there's two trails, okay? One trail, I'll call it, it starts at the roundabout approximately and heads west to the hub. That would be a pathway for middle school, Selkirk middle school students to get to the hub on a path.
Right.
Right now, there is no route to do it, other than walking through the weeds, and technically you're trespassing on the county's property because there isn't officially a trail there.
Got it.
The other way on Mission Avenue, so there is a plan to do frontage improvements on Mission that puts in basically curb gutter sidewalk, lights, crosswalks, and landscape strips, all consistent with the city's development standards. Timing is a challenge for us, and I don't want to brush that aside as not being a safety issue, but we don't have the right-of-way, but there's only 40 feet of right-of-way. So when we approach the property owner, so now I'm at the roundabout going east.
Got it.
Okay? So that strip of land, the trail actually goes diagonally through homes that are going to be platted. So the trail right-of-way is different than the frontage improvements. The frontage improvements, and I'll try to be very logical, there's 40 feet of right-of-way, there's not enough public right-of-way to build an improvement. The owner of the property, which is Centennial, didn't want the liability of us grading it out and allowing a shoulder, if you will, for people to walk on. And if you built anything, it would be considered a throwaway because the developer is going to come in and build the frontage improvement. So I know that doesn't address all the concerns about public safety, but there is a logic to what we're doing. And our goal is to work with the developer to put that in sooner than later, and that it will be a full frontage improvement with a trail, lights. Basically, if you drove down Mission from Moulter to the east towards Rocky Hill, that's what Mission will look like over there. So that's a long answer, I apologize.
No, that's all right. I'm just trying, I still am confused about the secondary access, though. I didn't hear the
So there's two
secondary.
accesses into the middle school without the trail. There's one at the roundabout.
The
on
school
Hovis
district's
Parkway.
already made one, right?
Pardon me?
The school district's already put one in?
There's two. There's
Okay.
one off of Harvest Parkway, south of the roundabout, and the other one is probably 100 or 200 feet west. Ben showed it as a triangle piece of
Right.
property. And so that is a emergency access. So there's two ways for public safety vehicles to get into and out
Okay.
of the site.
So the need for us to work on one is, I didn't quite catch that. I'm running out of time, but I'm trying to get some clarification. Is it all right?
Use all your time.
Is it all right? Okay, thank you.
Granted that.
I'm just trying to get some clarification on the secondary access because I heard the mayor
It's a
say.
pedestrian access. It's
or
a secondary pedestrian access.
Pedestrian
And
access,
let me
okay,
also-
so it's not for emergency vehicles. That's all I need to
Correct.
clarify.
That's
Got
It's
it.
gonna be used for an emergency.
Got it. That's all I needed the clarification
And
for.
if you were to evacuate the middle school with the existing emergency access, you're ending up on Mission. With this trail, you would end up at the hub.
At the hub, which is very important because you don't want kids on mission. I mean, a bunch of junior high kids on mission means trouble. I can just tell you that from teaching junior high kids. That means a lot of trouble. I wouldn't want to be the teacher in charge of those kids in that situation, but.
They're looking for substitutes.
Yeah, well, thank you. They said no, I'm retired, so they said they don't want any retirees. I don't know why. Anyway, so, okay, thank you. That's what I needed clarification on. I mean, because the mayor made a comment, Mr. Mayor made a comment about getting back for kids to get for playing games and stuff like that. And I just want to make sure that that is something that can be done because things can happen on an athletic field that need to have access to.
Exactly.
So, my other, I want to make another comment about Mission, and that road is dangerous, and with a school in there, the traffic is going to increase exponentially, and the foot traffic's going to increase exponentially as more houses go in there and as kids need access to the school. And I know that you've already said that the right-of-way is a real big issue, but I'd really like to encourage the city to work as hard as they can on achieving some right away so that there is access for kids and parents to walk to the school and have a safe passage to the school. When there's night activities, that community is awfully close. Having taught in a school in a community like that, people will walk, kids will walk, and they need to have a lighted way and a safe passage to and from their homes. And that's my comments. Thank you.
I just want to address one thing, and that is the fact that the city has been working diligently on this mission, right-of-way, road improvement. It's in our capital facilities plan, it's scheduled for 2020, in year $1,000,003. The developers are working on it. The right-of-way you talk about, the yellow line which I talked about when the picture was up, that has gone away so that Centennial Property has access to that property now, that yellow line that went through the
Got it.
thing, right? Okay. The agreement basically is that they would move that yellow line along Mission so that we'd get right away. So they got property and they also give up property where they needed to give up property for the community. And they're fully aware that as they build those things out, those kids are gonna walk out their back gate, fence, or road and walk to school or ride their bike to school. And so there is a very good priority of us to move it forward.
That's
And it is on our capital facilities plan, and it has been on our capital plan for a couple of years for just this point, to get to that point. And the funding's there, the LIFT and TIF can help fund that, developers can help fund that. It's just a matter of moving it forward in their construction process.
Yeah, I understand all that time, takes time and there's a process to getting all that done. I just see it as the school becomes filled with kids, and as activities start to occur, I just see that road being a real safety issue. I realize it was an old county road, but with a new school being put in there, that is going to become.
I think we all fully realize
Yeah.
it is an issue.
Yeah, and I appreciate you hearing me and the other people. I just want it to be known that it is something that needs to be addressed. And if it can be addressed, even further, moving it along further to get it done, that would be a good
2020
thing.
is just 6 months away.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mayor and Council.
Thank you. Any other comments? Not hearing you, we're going to go into an executive session over the...
10. I'll say 5.
Go for 3 minutes and so we got 9:03.